Hey folks, welcome to the Phillies Talk podcast presented by Team Toyota. He's Jim Salisbury and I'm Corey Seidman. And it's been an eventful last 7 days for the Phillies, particularly for Bryce Harper, who has now missed 4 of the Phillies' last 5 games as we go into Tuesday. This is a result of the pitch he took off the face last week in St. Louis. But as we're going to get into, it's not so much about his face, it's about his wrist. Harper returned Sunday night against the Mets, but he just didn't look right. He looked like he was feeling something with every swing in his last 2 plate appearances. Jim, what's the latest on this? And does it look like an injured list stint might be needed for Harper?
Late Monday night, after Monday night's game, Joe Girardi said it looked like they would be able to avoid a trip to the IL. Harper was seen by team physicians Monday afternoon, sat out Monday night's game. As you mentioned, that's 4 out of 5. I mean, just an amazing circumstance. You take a 97-mile-an-hour fastball off the cheekbone and slough it off like nothing ever happened. Avoid injury to your face and your head. But on the ricochet, it hits his wrist and causes swelling and pain and a minor injury on the wrist that, you get a minor injury on your hand and your wrist when you're a hitter. And, you need to sit out because it can get worse and you're just not effective at 100%. So just an amazing circumstance that he avoided injury, but in his face and hurt his wrist. Joe said, looks like could avoid a DL, or IL, but it might be a day or two. So reading into Joe speak, I doubt we're going to see him tonight, Tuesday night, behind Aaron Nola as they play game 2 of the series against Milwaukee. Maybe it will be Wednesday, maybe it will be Thursday. I just don't know, but day to day, but he might need a day or two means no DL and probably not Tuesday night. They played him on Sunday night and that kind of messed up the mathematics on a potential IL stint, because had he not played on Sunday night and this thing kind of was slow healing, they could have backdated that DL assignment to Wednesday, the night he was hit in St. Louis, and that would have started the clock on the 10 days, and they could have DL'd him and brought a replacement here and gotten him back in the short term. But now if they DL him, it would have to go back to Sunday. That's a longer period of time. It just becomes more complicated. So bottom line, I don't think we see Bryce Harper Tuesday night. Don't know for sure, but that's just my gut feeling. But it looks like he avoids the IL.
Well, the Phillies opened this 4-game series against the Brewers with a win, a 4-3 win. It was actually the 20th time now in 29 games that the Phillies have scored 4 runs or fewer, which is, a large percentage of their games that they're just kind of staying afloat offensively, not really breaking out, not clicking fully. In that game, JT Realmuto hit just an absolute bomb to the second deck in left field. He's another guy who was dealing with an injury last week, a hand injury, but he seems like he's A-okay. He's played the last 2 games.
Yeah, you drive a ball like that, I would say your hands are feeling pretty good because you're going to get through it. And then, like you said, second deck, he really drove that ball 420 feet. He just crushed it. Most nights, that's the biggest, farthest traveling ball of the night. But Lorenzo Cain hit an absolute monster shot in the first inning on Vinny Velasquez. I thought it was going to land up on that stage where they have the national anthem singer out in Ashburn Alley. He killed it. He was sort of a bookend, that Lorenzo Cain hits that big bomb in the first inning. And then in that nervous 9th inning, Hector Neris loads the bases and strikes out Cain with the game on the line on his 40th pitch of the night. So lot going on in that game 1. But, every game's a tightrope for this pitching staff because, as you mentioned, they don't score runs.
Well, Vince Velasquez, it seems like he always just does just enough in like the moment where he needs to kind of reprove himself to remain in the rotation. Do you think that he's going to remain in the rotation after spending 6 innings Monday night against the Brewers? And it's not as if Matt Moore had pitched well in that number 4 spot before Velasquez.
In the short term, I do think he stays in the rotation. I think he's earned it. That spot in the rotation comes up again Saturday night in Atlanta. And the way Matt Moore has pitched, I feel a lot more confident with Vince Velasquez, the way he's pitched. They both have made 3 starts. Vinny has given you like 14 in the 3rd innings with a 3.70 ERA, where Moore has made 3 starts, 11 innings with a 9 ERA. Who do you want to get the ball? And then, simple logistics of the situation. Moore hasn't pitched in 2 weeks, so he ain't going to be ready to make that start. So Vinny's going to have to make that start Saturday night. I just find it interesting that Joe will not come out and commit to him. Reminds me of last year, and even in previous years with Gabe Kapler, when both of those guys were reluctant to name a closer. They rode the hot hand. Evidence suggested that they were pretty much riding Hector Neris, but nobody would ever come out and name a closer. I just don't think Joe wants to come out and say Vinny's in the rotation. Vinny is our fifth starter. Vinny's our fourth starter, whatever. I just don't think he wants to commit to him because it's almost like a start-by-start basis. Have a good one, earn another one. Have a good one, earn another one. Have a bad one, we're going to rethink it. But they have more on reserve, but the problem is he has not pitched. They do have Spencer Howard at AAA. AAA season opens on Tuesday night. I haven't seen that rotation, though. He will pitch for them, and he's going to start stretching out. So maybe Vinny is start by start until Spencer's ready, or Vinny is start by start until he has a poor one and Spencer is ready. So they're just not committing to anything. But as long as Vinny gives them, like he did last night, 6 innings, 1 run, they'll take that all the time, and they'll keep riding them as long as it's the hot hand. But no commitment there. And maybe it makes a lot of sense just what we've seen over the last 5+ seasons with his inconsistencies. Keep him motivated, keep him reaching for it, keep that carrot dangling out in front of him and make him go get it because he does want to be a starter. But hats off to him for his performance on Monday night. Tough first inning, gave up that big home run, a couple other hits, but he got out of it. He threw 27 pitches in the first inning, but he got better as the game went on, kept his composure really well. A lot of times when he has bad starts, he unravels. I thought he kept his focus and did a very good job. So he was a big part of that victory Monday night.
Well, so was Sam Coonrod, who came in the 7th inning and struck out the side. Coonrod's been pitching in some high leverage situations lately. He pitched the 9th inning a few nights ago. And, part of the reason that he's become a little more important here is because of what's going on with Jose Alvarado, who was suspended for 2 games. He's serving his suspension Monday, Tuesday for what happened last week with Dominic Smith Friday night when he struck Smith out to end the 8th inning and then gestured toward him and acted like he wanted to fight. The bench is cleared twice there in the span of 2 half innings. First off, what did you make of that situation with Jose Alvarado and Dom Smith saying after the game that he can come meet him in the tunnel the next day?
I didn't have a problem at all with what Dominic Smith said. No, there's some history there. Nola came up and in on Smith last month. Didn't seem to be any intent in the pitch, but Smith stared him down. And then when up at Citi Field, Alvarado hit Michael Conforto and Smith yapped at him from the dugout. They yapped at Alvarado. So a little bit of history there, but I don't think anything should have occurred Friday night. Alvarado did an unbelievable job in a 1-run game. There were runners on 2nd and 3rd, and he was down 3-0 to Smith. And he came back and struck him out for the out of the game, one of the biggest outs of the season, certainly one of the biggest outs of Jose Alvarado's time here in red pinstripes. He celebrated, he pounded his chest, no problem with that. I like the fire, I like the emotion. As he walked off the mound, though, he decided that he was going to yap at Smith and instigate something. And then he threw his glove down like he was Ty Domi and wanted to fight the guy. Honestly, there's no place for that on the baseball field. You won the battle. You came through for your team. You walk off that mound with your head high and shake every hand in your dugout and let Dominic Smith go back to his dugout with his tail between his legs. You beat him. That was the ultimate in your face. And unfortunately, Alvarado let his emotions get the best of him. Instead of channeling his emotions into or building off what he did on the mound, he created a scene and he ended up getting a suspension, which hurts his team. It could hurt them tonight because he's unavailable tonight on Tuesday night. The suspension was 3 games. They reduced it to 2. He was not available Monday night. He's not available Tuesday night. Hector Neris threw 40 pitches on Monday night in this crazy save. He's obviously not going to be ready Tuesday night. Bullpen is going to be very shorthanded in Tuesday night's game. So, I just, if I were the pitching coach or if I was Alvarado's buddy, I would really focus on the fact that, man, you really came through for your team Friday night. You delivered with the pressure on, came back from 3-0, won the battle, huge out, saved the game for us. That's good enough. That's good enough. Walk off the mound with your head high. Dominic Smith ain't going to say a word after that. But when Alvarado called him on, and now he's got all his teammates around him, all that support, I thought Dominic Smith made a pretty good point. He didn't start anything. He was walking away, but he did say is you want to come at me with all your teammates behind your back for support. If you want to come at me, meet me in the tunnel one-on-one. No harm, no foul there. No harm, no foul there to me. I think that's a very natural response. He ended up getting fined. It was a situation that didn't have to happen. And I think in some ways it kind of marred a really good win for the Phillies, or at the very least, it marred a great performance by Jose Alvarado. So that's what I got to say about that. It's probably unpopular. It might be unpopular with some folks, but that's the way I feel. And he ended up getting suspended, and the Phillies need to hope that it doesn't bite them tonight, because they don't have Hector Neris as well.
Look, it's very popular these days on social media to write about let the kids play, let guys just wear their emotions on their sleeve and react after their successes. But I thought what Joe Girardi said after that game was exactly what I was thinking as that happened, which is this is the byproduct. If you let guys show all that emotion and celebrate their successes in real time in the heat of the moment after another guy just struck out, there are going to be reactions like that. The other guy's going to get offended. It's going to, it happened the next night, for example. It happened the next night with Amir Garrett in Cincinnati. I think it was Reds Cubs. We've seen it happen, I'd say, at least a half dozen times across baseball this season, where one guy has been demonstrative on the field, and it's led to both benches clearing, nothing actually happening, but it creates that bad blood. It creates that situation. And then it necessitates the umpires or even the league office having to step in. So in a narrow-minded view of we want more excitement, let's let everybody just act how they want, that's fine. But there's going to be ramifications to it on the other end.
But Alvarado did celebrate. You watched the video. He strikes out Dominic Smith. He does like a 180, faces the outfield, pounds his chest. I mean, pure emotion, exhilaration. He's happy. He's celebrating. And you know what? That's a let the kids play moment. Celebrate. Get it all out. Now he starts off the mound, and that's when he starts yapping, and he calls on Dominic Smith, throws his glove down, he's at center ice, and they're gonna have a fight in a hockey game. He had his let the kids play moment. He could celebrate and still walk off the field and then celebrate more in the dugout. Dominic Smith was vanquished. He was walking away. He knew he had been beaten, and that should be, to me, the ultimate bit of emotion, that I just beat you. But he had to go and drop gloves and try to start a fight. He just went too far. His emotions got the best of him. I understand he's a human being. It happens. It happens to all of us. We get a little too emotional. But, Tuesday night, Citizens Bank Park, Milwaukee Brewers, the Phillies are going to pay a price for not having Jose Alvarado. And he may have paid a price on Sunday night. He was so high-strung again on Sunday night, so emotional, that, he threw 8 straight balls. He allowed 3 runs. He didn't pitch well against the Mets. So he's a very, very talented fellow. Just take a deep breath and let that talent work for itself.
Well, so the Phillies on Tuesday night, they'll be without Hector Neris, as you mentioned, because he threw 40 pitches. They'll be without Jose Alvarado because he's serving the second game of his suspension. Connor Brogdon also threw 21 pitches on Monday night and didn't look all that good. He's had a couple shaky outings in a row here. What do you think's going on with Brogdon? Do you think it could be like a confidence thing? I mean, his confidence was sky high before that outing against the Giants, but if there's one game that can make you feel bad about yourself, it's giving up 2 3-run homers in an inning.
Yeah, he did bounce back from that. Okay, he's a rookie. They're still trying to find themselves. He was pitching kind of in a downpour last night at times. The sky's really open. It became tough to pitch, but yeah, he's not commanding it. He's walking people. 2 walks. They both scored. You can't have that. But I would imagine his confidence is a little low just after last night's performance. And I don't know that they'll have him Tuesday night. So I don't know what's going on there, to be honest with you. He's a very talented guy, and I think he's got great ability. But relievers, man, they feed off momentum and they feed off positive energy. Sometimes you have a bad one. You have a couple more bad ones. They need to get him straight, and need to get him straight. He's obviously, he needs to command that big fastball and have a good feel on that great changeup and go from there.
Well, the Phillies do have in their benefit that in 2 of the final 3 games of this Brewers series, they have Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler going. Expected to get some length from those guys. Aaron Nola pitches Tuesday. And Jim, our friends at PointsBet have Aaron Nola's odds for a win in this Phillies-Brewers game at plus 105. So just a little bit more profitable than even money there for Aaron Nola to get a W. And just when you start to think about the relievers who are going to be unavailable, this sure would seem like a night where the Phillies are kind of expecting 7 out of Nola, huh?
They absolutely need it. Like we said, no Alvarado because of the suspension. Definitely no Neris, though they won't say it for strategic reasons, but he threw 40 pitches. He might need 2 days off. Coonrod's really thrown it well. He pitched last night. I'm not sure if he'll be available tonight. I think he might. And we talked about confidence and relievers getting momentum, getting on a roll. He's certainly on a good one. He might be a really important guy tonight. Brandon Kinsler will definitely, I would think, be an important guy. He was up in that 9th inning when Neris was bobbing and weaving. So I think Kinsler could be very important tonight. JoJo probably will be, but it would really help if they could get about 7 2/3 out of Aaron Nola and limit the bullpen's workload.
You know, Brandon Kinsler must be really well liked in the Phillies clubhouse, because I've noticed that it seems like whenever he comes in and has a good outing, either Joe Girardi or that night's starting pitcher makes a point to say, and let's not forget about Kinsler. He came out and got those couple big outs there.
I think he probably is, and this is with the COVID restrictions. We're not allowed in the clubhouse, which is a difficult way to cover a team, difficult way to build relationships. And one of my favorite parts of covering baseball is trying to get to know the guys, because I want to know what makes them tick as competitors. And I think it helps you paint a good picture of them for the reader. But Kinsler, I think we can tell even from like a mile away, he is a fierce competitor. And I mean, he's a badger. He talks that way. He acts that way. I mean, to survive all these years in the big leagues at 91, 92 with a sinker and the way he attacks people and attacks the strike zone, you have to kind of have that personality. He's not afraid of contact. He's not afraid to get hit. If he gets hit, he's going to get right back up on the horse. So yeah, he's a fighter. He's a battler, and his teammates really do like him because obviously, like you mentioned, they really root for him, but they say really good things about him. Coonrod, one of the games in the Mets series, I guess it was the Alvarado game Friday night. He had did Coonrod get the save that night?
Yeah, Coonrod came in and pitched the 9th. Yeah, he had the post-game interview.
Yeah, and afterward he was talking about how much Kinsler has helped him. Now Kinsler was a minor league signing. Coonrod was a trade. They meet each other for the first time in February in spring training, and they hit it off. Not surprising. They're both relievers. They sit next to each other in the bullpen. They both sort of had that fiery personality. But one of the things I really liked talking to Kinsler about in spring training was when he took the next step in his pitching career. He just said, I'm not going to be afraid to get hit. When I fail, I'm not going to be afraid of failing. I'm going to get over it. I'm going to learn from it. And he said he really took the next step. And he's really been counseling Coonrod on that. And stressing to Coonrod the importance of first pitch strikes. When you throw a first pitch strike, all of a sudden you're the hunter. You know, you control the at bat. You're not the hunted. So there's a real mental. You can build a mental dominance over a hitter when you throw that first pitch strike. So he's stressed that to Coonrod, and it goes back. Coonrod said something very interesting, that they play catch together every day. You know, the relievers are usually on the field every day about 3:30. That's when they're playing catch. That's when they're determining, oh, I got nothing. I might need a night off. That's an important time. And Kinsler, even in their catch play, has told them have a purpose every time you throw the baseball. So even on flat ground, Coonrod is having a purpose when he executes a 60 or an 80-foot toss to Brandon Kinsler. He's having a purpose with it. And he's carrying that over onto the mound. He's just carrying that mindset, have a plan, execute the plan. And that jives with something Jamie Moyer told me, I don't know, 15 years ago. I used to always talk about his career with him and how he struggled early and what finally happened. And he said, I just said, screw it. I wasn't going to worry about getting sent down anymore. I wasn't going to worry about failure anymore. I was just going to go at the hitters with what I had. But there was a lot more to it. And he said, I just developed this strategy. I was going to have a plan with every pitch, every ball I threw. From the time I woke up in the morning, if I played catch with my kids in the backyard, I was going to have a plan with it. During my side sessions, a plan with every bullpen. Playing catch on flat ground, I was going to have a plan with every ball I threw. And it got to the point where he said, when I play catch, whoever I'm playing catch with, I change it up every day. I might say, today I'm going to hit that guy every ball I throw. I'm going to hit him right in the P on his hat, the white Phillies P on his red hat. The next day I might hit him on the blue star on his uniform over the Phillies. The next day I might hit a thread on his shoulder. The next day I might try to hit him in the belly button. But every pitch Jamie threw on flat ground, he was going to have a purpose with. And I just thought that was brilliant. And it can be employed at any level of the game. You know, a little leaguer can do that and have a purpose with every ball you throw. And I would think it would help you as an infielder. I would think it would help you as a catcher, an outfielder, and obviously as a pitcher. So loved hearing that from Jamie years ago. And what Coonrod and Kinsler are working on is this very, very similar strategy, very similar plan. And it seems to be helping Sam Coonrod, who has had some great games lately, built a lot of confidence, big arm, great competitor. And they might need him Tuesday night in a big way.
That's great stuff. I know that if I'm like a high school or college player listening to the Phillies Talk podcast, that's something that I go try to employ the next time I throw.
Yeah, it helped Jamie Moyer, survive like getting released 4 times and going out and pitch until he was 45 and winning 269 games and making $100 million. So if it works for him, it works for me.
Jim, have you ever seen a ball hit off that spot that Rhys Hoskins hit the other night in the 9th inning? Sunday night, he narrowly missed a 3-run homer. It was a long fly ball to right field. It hit the top of the railing above the out-of-town scoreboard. If it was like a centimeter farther, it would have been a game-tying 3-run homer instead of a 2-run double that left the Phillies just short in an 8-7 loss. You ever seen a ball hit to that exact spot?
I've seen balls hit that gray metal railing, but maybe not that high up where it was so hard to determine. I don't know where that camera angle was that shoots from the foul pole right down the length of that fence. That would have made it easier to determine. I think they should paint that gray metal steel fence. It's what is it? Maybe a foot comes off the padding. Maybe if they painted that black, like a dull colored black. Flat black, you'd have more of a difference if a ball ever hit it. Maybe it would be an easier call. But no, I'd never seen that, and it just tells you I know it's a cliche, but it's totally a game of inches. They were that close. They were an inch. That ball hits an inch up, it skips over. It hit perfectly and bounced back, and affected the outcome of the game. Affected everybody's emotions, and certainly would have gotten Rhys Hoskins off the hook for a mental lapse earlier in that game, an inning earlier. So yeah, crazy. I've never seen one. I've seen some tough calls. I covered the Jeffrey Mayer game when he reached out. Oh yeah, I was at that game. I was covering that game for the New York Post, and it was so funny. This was pre-cell phone, but we had our own. All the newspapers had their phones in the press box, and as soon as that kid reaches over and deflects that ball, the phone rings. I pick it up, and they're like, Joel Sherman was there, Tom Keegan was there, and it was one of the editors saying, get out and talk to that kid. They get out and talk. They're telling and I said they're already on their way. Those 2 guys ran out there to talk to the kid, but that was a famous boundary call. But I'm on one of my famous tangents. I'm sorry.
Well, you said that it affected everybody's emotions that night. It certainly did. I mean, I always like to, in games like that, read what comes out of the other clubhouse. And I saw that Pete Alonso that night talked about how, this could be the momentum builder for the rest of our season in terms of the Mets, that they were trailing in that game. They came from behind. They were able to hang on to win. Whereas from a Phillies perspective, if that ball goes 1 centimeter farther, it could be a momentum builder for the Phillies rest of the season in terms of battling back and scoring late. I mean, it was a good sign that they were able to score off of Edwin Diaz late. And Hoskins continues to hit for power here. But it's just been a very, very strange first month of the season in the National League East. I mean, as we sit here on May 4th, the first place team is the Nationals at 12-12. The Phillies, I think we'd agree, have not played well, especially defensively. We can get into that a little bit here. I mean, it seems like every night there's a different culprit. A lot of nights it's the same culprit. I mean, the Phillies have struggled defensively at short and left field, somewhat at first base, definitely at third base. I know Joe Girardi's been asked here in recent days, like, is there anything you can actually do, or is your personnel just the personnel? Manager's never gonna say it, but to me, it just sure seems like the personnel is the personnel. I don't know if you're gonna be able to like create that extra step for Didi Gregorius or Andrew McCutchen in shortstop or left field at this point in their careers.
No, you can't go out and hit Didi 150 ground balls every day and wear him out. He's north of 30 now. I will tell you this: there were concerns about his defense last year. There were concerns about his defense this winter as they mulled what kind of contract offer to make him. They had a lot of interest in Andrelton Simmons because he was a guy that they felt could improve their defense behind a ground ball staff. But Didi, to me, it's a big concern. He has not played well there. I don't think he's moved well. Andrew McCutchen, ditto, not played well, not moved well. Two big concerns on the left side of the diamond. Alec Boehm has his moments where he's very good. I think he's improving, but certainly I think it's fair to say below average defensively. First base as well with Hoskins. I don't see every team, and I haven't seen every team in the history of mankind, but it's the worst defensive team I've seen in a 5-week stretch in my time covering baseball. I mean, it's every night. It's every night. And some nights it doesn't show up under the E column. Some nights there's a goose egg because maybe a generous official score didn't give them an error, right? But there are misplays that don't get called errors. There are just every night there seems to be a misplay that gives the other team extra outs, and they capitalize. The big league level, you give extra outs, teams are going to capitalize. Good team. It's like a good hitter, pitcher makes a mistake, boom. Same thing when a team makes a defensive mistake, the other team has to jump on it, just like a hitter would jump on a pitcher's mistake. And the Phillies, at a game under 500, have beaten themselves a ton this year.
Well, and the thing is that this is the first year of a 2-year deal for Didi Gregorius, and I don't really see what the solution is going to be, because it's not like you can move him to a different position. You can't move him to third base and stun Alec Boehm's growth. You can't move him to second base unless you get rid of Gene Segura between now and the end of 2022 when his deal is up. It just seems like this is something that the Phillies are going to have to live with, not just for the next 3-4 weeks, but for the next year and a half.
Well, maybe we'll get a DH next year.
True.
And they can, maybe put him at first base, put Hoskins at DH, maybe put him at, Didi at DH. That might offer some solutions, but I couldn't agree with you more. It's an issue, and it's going to be an issue for a while. I tell you what, at all levels of the game, when you don't make the play, it really shows up. It just really shows up. And like I said, it's not just showing up in errors. It's showing up in balls that are dropping in that outfielders should have gotten to. I mean, I can think of right now, sitting here, I can think of 3 of them that have dropped in that probably should have been caught. Very, very troubling. I don't know what the answer is, because, I don't know that going out there at 2:30 in the afternoon and hitting them a ton of balls is going to make a big difference. McCutchen, was it Saturday night, missed that line drive that was hit right to him. And then after the game, I really commend him for being so honest. He said he had trouble picking up the ball. And then it was very troubling to hear him say it's happened 3 times this year where he's having trouble picking up that line drive. He said he doesn't know if it's the seats or the sun or this or that, but it couldn't be, he said he's having trouble picking up out of the backdrop, but it couldn't be the sun or the backdrop that much, because he also said I should have had those balls. So, there are times you lose a ball in the sun, you're just not catching it. It's really not your fault. The sun gobbled it up on you. But he's admitted that there's been 3 balls that he should have had that he's not caught. And it's clearly on Joe Girardi's mind, because Joe said yesterday he's probably going to have a discussion of some sort with McCutchen about the possibility of maybe getting his eyes checked. So, yeah, it's not good. You got to catch the ball. You got to catch the ball at some point. This game is, it's like football is blocking and tackling. Baseball still comes down to, throw strikes and catch the ball. pitch and play good defense, you can be a pretty successful team. In a lot of ways, I think the Phillies are lucky to be near the top of the division and be just a game under 500 with as horrendous a defense as they have played, and with as many nights as you look up and they got 4 hits and they're all singles, and the next night they got 9 hits, but they're 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position, or 1 for 13 with runners in scoring position. They just, to me, are very lucky to be where they are, given we knew they were going to have holes coming out of spring training. I just think they have more holes and they're deeper holes than we anticipated.
Well, the weather is going to warm up, and the thought process here would be that, or at least among like Phillies optimists or fans, that when the weather heats up, that the offense will get to its level. This is really happening across baseball, and we've discussed that no teams are really hitting right now. You have like the Phillies hitting 240 toward the top of the league in batting average, just crazy. I'm sure some of that is due to the changes that have happened with the baseball itself. Have you heard from any pitchers like what they think about these baseballs in relation to what they were last year or the year before? I
have not. The times that has come up on these Zoom interviews, they said they're not noticing a big difference. I just think the velocities are so high and the swings are so long, it's a bad mix. But, last night we saw Kane hit one onto Ashburn Alley. We saw JT go upper deck to left field. We've seen some big home runs. I don't know if the ball is that much is the reason for this difference. I just think contact rates have gone down. Strikeouts have gone way up because everybody's trying to launch, and fastballs are really big. And the longer your swing is, the more you get eaten up by a good fastball.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this Phillies Talk podcast. Aaron Nola on the hill Tuesday night as the Phillies continue their 4-game series against the Brewers, who entered the series in first place in the NL Central. And we'll see if the Phillies can finally win 2 in a row, as they failed to do for a month now. He's Jim Salisbury. I'm Corey Seidman. Thanks for listening.